Breaking news, Nigerians. In a recent development, El-Rufai made a striking statement where he talked about illiterate in leadership. And this has sparked national debate. This has generated criticisms from several persons towards Nasir El-Rufai. Nasir El-Rufai, while speaking at a national conference held in Abuja on strengthening democracy in Nigeria, he described the state of governance and the opposition in the country as a national emergency. And many persons really attacked Nasir El-Rufai for making this statement. The presidential media aide to Bola Tinubu, Daniel Bwala, faulted Nasir El-Rufai's statement for claiming that the All Progressive Congress lacked eternal democracy and active party structures. Daniel Bwala had really expressed dissatisfaction with what El-Rufai had said, and El-Rufai also noted that he no longer recognizes the APC and that the party has tended towards a one-man show. The party cannot cannot afford to have illiterate and semi-illiterates. And replying to what El-Rufai had said, Daniel Bwala had blasted, Nasir El-Rufai, noting that had it been Nasir El-Rufai were to be a part and parcel of this government, he wouldn't have made such statements. Even Reno Mokri blasted El-Rufai for criticizing Tinubu's government. Omokri accused El-Rufai of making comments that could incite a military coup and labeled them as unreasonable and treacherous. Now, several persons expressed concerns over El-Rufai's statements, which likened Tinubu's government to a military dictatorship. And for many people, El-Rufai coming out now to make these claims seems to be odd. It seems to be an hypocritical statement. How can El-Rufai, who has been in the government for so long, he has not been talking about these things? How come overnight he suddenly realizes that the government is not going as it should be? So the presidency really fumed at Nasir El-Rufai's statement, where he accused the APC of poor leadership and encouraging opposition political parties. He encouraged opposition political parties to set aside their differences and form a united front ahead of the 2027 election. This was as the presidency accused Nasir El-Rufai of treachery over how he had been dragging the federal government and the ruling party recently. And yes, El-Rufai called for a national emergency. He called out opposition political parties to set higher standards for candidates and delegates, noting that the Constitution's minimum requirement of a secondary school certificate should not suffice for primary nominations. Reflecting on the APC's foundation, El-Rufai said the ruling party was originally established to combat corruption, to rebuild the economy and to enhance security. He, however, said that the goals had been abandoned under this Tinubu's administration. He called for opposition parties to form a coalition to challenge the ruling party and to protect democracy. He also alleged that the crisis within the opposition parties were being orchestrated by sponsored machineries. That's even what the Labour Party is facing and the PDP. All these things are happening because it's a deliberate plan by the APC to destroy the opposition party, and it is very dangerous. He also talked about military rule, that this Tinubu's government can be likened to a military regime. And guys, the presidency reacted, Daniel Bwala reacted, Reno Mokri reacted. How come El-Rufai is now waking up now? And yes, my country people, it's quite obvious that El-Rufai is trying to be an hypocrite, because tell me, after several years of El-Rufai, being a top political figure, he didn't notice these things. How come suddenly he's just waking up to the fact that things are not really going well for Nigerians and decided to speak up. You see, the electoral process in Nigeria is a flawed one. Yes, we know. Even the process of fielding candidates is also flawed, because nowadays political parties tend to nominate those that have money and they ignore those that have leadership qualities. They are not looking at candidates that have leadership qualities, but they are looking at the money. And then as for the delegates, well, the delegates, they also have a role to play in this. Delegates that ought to select those that are credible enough. They tend to go for dollar. They tend to go for money. They tend to go for those that will give them dollars, those that will bribe them. Yes, we know that in times like this, the opposition party, they need to step up. We saw how El-Rufai some few weeks back visited the SDP headquarters in Abuja, and this sparked a lot of debate. Is El-Rufai moving to the APC? Is El-Rufai leaving the APC for the SDP? What plans is El-Rufai cooking for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? He also decried that he no longer recognizes the All Progressive Congress. However, El-Rufai is yet to leave the party. So we don't really know what El-Rufai is crying foul for, but he has really faced a lot of criticisms for making these statements at the Abuja conference. Rino Mokri really gave him hot. Daniel Buala gave it back to him. Although what he's saying may be the truth, if we want to look at it. Yes, it is the truth, but how come he's saying this now? Why didn't he say this during Buhari's regime? Why didn't he say this during his regime as a governor? Accusing the APC of straying from its founding ideas and fostering poor leadership is alarming. But then, we all know the distance between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and El-Rufai, and how El-Rufai is trying his possible best to get back at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But the real question is, according to Daniel Buala, if he had a position in Tinubu's cabinet, would he have made this kind of statements? That is a very big question. So guys, I'm dropping here. Kindly share your thoughts on this in the comments section. Thank you.